I please request everybody to come forward as much as possible. It's kind of longish space anyway, and it gets to be
part of the challenge is that people from previous class stand around only, so we can't come and take the seat.
so just I think in terms of the continuity of the class, as I had mentioned it before, and I talked to some of you, that we will continue with the 7th chapter, but with a kind of fresh mandate of, and I think I will start it only after Swami Viditatmananda leaves. So that will be a good starting point, and we can even advertise it a little bit at that point. So that's what my plan is. And what we will do is we'll finish the revision of the 6th chapter, and if we have a couple of weeks left, then we will come up with some other topics that we can do. But as far as the continuity of the 7th chapter, that will probably happen on the first week of July after Swamiji leaves. So just Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambattvamanusandathami Bhagvadgita bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadai Gayanti Yam Samaga Dhyanavastita Tatkatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidussura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Let us chant verses 6th chapter, verses 20 to 23. Four of them. Excuse me. Verse number 20. Yatro paramate chittam. Yatro paramate chittam. Yatro paramate chittam. Niruddham yoga sevaya. Yatra chaivatmanatmanam. Yatra chaivatmanatmanam. Pashyannatmani tushyati. Tushyati. Sukham atyantikam yat buddhi. Sukham atyantikam yattat. Sukham atyantikam yattat. Buddhigrahyam atindriyam. Buddhigrahyam atindriyam. Vetri yatra na chaivayam. Vetri yatra na chaivayam. Sthitas chalati tattvataha. Sthitas chalati tattvataha. Yam labdhva cha param labham. Yam labdhva cha param labham. Manyate nadhikam tataha. Nadhikam tataha. Yasmin sthito na dukkhena. Yasmin sthito na dukkhena. Gurunapi vichalyate. Tam vidyat dukkha samyoga. vidya dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samyitam viyogam yoga samyitam sanishchayena yoktavyaha sanishchayena yoktavyaha yogo nirvinna chetasa yogo nirvinna chetasa. Okay. So one thing I wanted to just start with, and then we'll continue on this, is that the Patanjali's Ashtanga Yoga, which we have been studying, and those you should be familiar with, is called Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, then Dharana, Dhyanam, and Samadhi. So we've gone through this in the last few classes. It has some equivalents in Vedanta, like for example Shamadama, Uparama, Titiksha, etc. But they're very similar. So we can actually either follow each one of them. But here's the thing. So this Ashtanga Yoga means, Ashta means 8. And Anga means a limb. Ashtanga, Ashtaanga is called a limb. So 8 limbs. So the 8 limbs means, whenever you say a limb, so the question is, a limb of what? Limb by itself is not the main thing. It is connected to the main thing. And so this is also, so even the words themselves give you the nature of it. So Ashtanga Yoga means the 8 limbs of yoga. The question is, so then we say, this is the one it is done in the analysis of the grammar. So if you look at Anga, so this is called Anga. I'll rewrite this word. And then there is a word called Angi. Limbs means, Anga means limbs. Oops. Come, it's not working. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll just do this. Limbs. And Angi means one that has the limbs. And another way to look at this is Anga is sadhana. Sadhana means means, and Angi means sadhya. Oops. Means the end. Means to an end and the end. So it's the same meaning, Anga and Angi. So the question is, now we go back to, we have studied the Ashtanga, but now we have to see back to Vedanta. What is the end? So you do all the meditation. So the meditation that we do, because this whole topic is, the topic of the 6th chapter is meditation. So you do meditation. you conduct a meditation, and there is a method of doing it, we have been studying it and so on. The question is, what is the end point of it? The end point is given in the verses number 20 to 23. That is what we studied, what we chanted today, is the, that is the end point. It's called Angi. And the end point is sketched out in 7 different aspects of it. Means that if you keep on if you do meditation effectively, then here is what you will achieve. And that achievement is being presented in 7 different aspects in the verses number 20 to 23. And so, this we have already studied before, but I'm just revising it for you so that you can see it in that manner. So the 7 steps of this I can never get. This is exactly how this is done. I think I got it. Okay. Put this away. Move this back a little bit. Okay. So here are the 7 steps. I'm sorry, not the steps. There's no longer steps. These are aspects of what you achieve. The steps are already the Ashtanga Yoga. So this is the destination. This is what the destination should look like. And so those 7 things we have already done, but let's just see how they are presented in the verses number 20 to 23. Okay? So the first one is given in verse number 20. So if you look at this verse, just reread it again. Yatra uparamate chittam. So, number 1 is called Chitta Uparamanam. Right there in verse number 20. So verse number 20 gives 2 of them. So I'll label them. First one is Chitta Uparamanam. What it means is a feeling of relaxation and tranquility. Feeling of relax. That is what's called Chitta Uparaman. Now this feeling of relaxation and tranquility is achieved through various means. Most often it comes from eating a meal. This is what happens. It's a very remarkable thing. It's because, why? Because hunger and thirst are given by Ishvara. So look at the beauty of this. If you have some desires that you came up with, you certainly desire, wouldn't it be nice if we went to San Francisco this weekend? This is your own personal desire. No one else, not no one, but others may not have it. You are the one that came up with that. That I want to go to San Francisco. There is some special event happening, and let's enjoy it. This is your own desire. Now that desire, you can, like for example, you made a plan in the morning, and then later on you said, you know what, I'm too busy. I think we will not go there. Or some phone call comes in and says, can you please help us? Whatever. So that desire you can get rid of without any problems, because you were the instigator of the desire. But the desires that are given by Ishvara, you cannot get rid of. At least not easily. It is only when you become a jnani you can get rid of that desire. But until then, and so from there, we have a list of them that are given by Ishvara. That it's not as though some babies are born and they do not get hungry. No. It's not somebody is born without any desire for drinking. You get too dry and you don't want any water or anything. No. Hunger and thirst are all. So now what I'm saying is that you can get Chitta Uparamanam by fulfilling the desire given by Ishvara. And that is the most important one. So this is why they say that if you want to experience a sense of fullness that will come from Vedanta, you should see that is similar to the fullness that you get when you have had a good meal. Good meal, I'm just adding the word good because not overeating. Because overeating means you immediately feel, oh, I shouldn't have had that much. And also healthy food. You feel like this was, and tasty food. So when you have that, this is what is called alam buddhi. So alam buddhi means that I don't want any more. Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, you don't get alam buddhi in almost everything else. If you make money in the stock market, there's always a feeling, oh, I should have bought more stock. If you want to go someplace and you say, I wish I could stay for a longer time. But at the end of a meal, you cannot eat anymore. So you get alam buddhi. And that alam buddhi gives you some temporary tranquility and relaxation. There was this is a fact, I tell you, what I'm going to tell you. There's a Swami in India that wanted to do research. He decided, he was an educated person, and he was familiar with science and mathematics and so on. And he was also a Swami, he understood Vedanta. He wanted to do a research on how long does a sense of satisfaction last. And he came up with this answer. I read this somewhere. 15 minutes. Most of the cases even less than that. Why? Because after having a meal, it is nice that you can have a meal. Right away you have to say, who's going to put away the dishes? So your tranquility is gone a little bit. We have, my son who's temporarily staying with us. So he's a bachelor, and when he eats and he can leave the dishes on for a while. Now he's staying with us. We have a rule that as soon as you eat, you don't put anything in the sink. You have to wash it and put it in the dishwasher. And so the poor guy, he's being trained. So we will say, he says, oh, sorry. Anyway, whatever it is, whether it is admonition from the parents or your own feeling, I have got to do something. After you eat, you say, okay, now what else? This is 15 minutes is the most of the tranquility that you can get. Here, however, if you do meditation well, your sense of relaxation and tranquility is more lasting. This is your own. And whether you are, this will all come. This is one of the 7 points we will see. Even if you have other problems, but those problems will not really disturb you to the same degree as you had before. This is the result of doing meditation well. So the first one is, we are just starting. I'll give you all the 7 in a minute. And so this is the first one, which is Chitta Uparamana, which is a relative feeling that all is well with me. I'm okay. Because this is what our life is, that generally speaking, all is not well with us. And then we have lots of examples why this is. People also, criticize me and so on and so forth. So my own feelings and confirmation from others means that all is not well with me. But a nididhyasana, and by the way, we're talking about nididhyasanam, not dhyanam. So this has to be remembered, that nididhyasana, which means a meditation on the knowledge which has already been done by me. Swami Paramarthananda says that Shravanam means a proper listening to the principles of Vedanta takes years of classroom and study. It's not casual. You not just say, I went to this class and it was very good and now I'm ready for nididhyasanam. No. Shravanam has to be done, mananam has to be done. Then if you conduct nididhyasanam, the result of that nididhyasanam is a sense of relaxation and tranquility that is not specific to eating or doing anything specific. It's a non-specific ownership of this mental thinking. This is the first one. It's called Chitta Uparamanam. Then the second one is also given in verse number 20. And it goes by number 20. It's mean Atma Darshanam, which in verse 20 goes as, yat is the second line of verse 20, you can see, Yatracha eva atmana atmanyam pashyan. Pashyan. So here is atmanam. Pashyan is what is called a present participle. In grammatical terms, so it means seeing while you are seeing. Like when you say singing, I left the home. So I left the home is a verb, And while doing what is called seeing or singing or feeling good, I left the home. So feeling good is what is called a present participle. So here li atmanam pashyan means, seeing the Atma means Atma Darshana. So what does it mean? This is the second one in 20. So, Yatra Uparamate Chittam. Oh, by the way, before I go to the number 2, there are some words in the first line, Niruddham Yoga Sevaya. You look at verse number 20, Niruddham Yoga Sevaya. So, Yatra Uparamate Chittam means how. Niruddham Yoga Sevaya means having done the steps of the Ashtanga Yoga well. Yoga Sevaya. Yoga Seva means you resort to what was asked of you. You fulfill the requirements. It's not just by chance. So it is a result of steps that you deliberately took. So this is the meaning for Niruddha. So Niruddha. Niruddha means one which has been maintained by discipline, by work, having a cause and effect. So that's the Niruddha. Then going back to this one, Atma Darshanam. What does it mean? This means, so the first one was a feeling of tranquility and relaxation, right? That Chittam Uparaman. This one is a feeling of fullness. Fullness. What does that mean, feeling of fullness? Well, maybe a single L. I am fulfilled. I don't lack. And then you can say things. Because our life without that is always in the feeling that I am incomplete. I got to do something. That's the natural feeling about it. But one of the results of the meditation is, and so this is, so the result of the Ashtanga Yoga, we're just stepping back from it from a little bit, we're looking at all 7 of them that I'm going to describe. The result of that is an appreciation of the Atma. This is what our biggest issue is. You do not appreciate it. This is, I think, a good way to look at it. It's very much like you have some amazing asset that you are unaware of. You don't appreciate it. And the classical example given on this side, and so many acharyas have taken up this example, that this is a good way to look at it, is the story that there was a person who his father was a fairly well-to-do person, and he had some children, and so he had left a house and some property, and the children used to live there, and the father died. And so pretty soon the children, one of the sons started to do some agriculture, He didn't have a lot of success. There were no rains, and he had a family he could not support. And money-wise, he was really in bad shape. Didn't have enough to feed the family and so on. So one day he was visiting a shop in the village, and the shopkeeper said, you look very down, what's happening? He says, I don't know, my father was a successful person, but I have not been able to make agriculture, and I don't know what to do, I'm really in a bad shape. So he says, I have an idea. Your father was a friend of mine, and he used to come and sit down and talk many times about life and so on. We were more than just shopkeeper, customer. We were friends. He says, he told me one time that he was a very good saver, and he would save a lot of money, and he would buy these gold coins just for a rainy day. He says he was a very good man, and he stored a lot of, and he was once telling me that he has buried this treasure underneath the ground in your house. He says he was just telling me that I'm just doing that because, my family might need it, and I'm saving all this. And in India, we don't, you don't have banks and villages and so on, so you have to put it under the mattress or something like this. So he says, I think that's on your property. I'm very sure, because he was not a spending kind of a person. He was very family oriented. He saved a lot of money, and then he bought some gold coins. So you have it on your property. Now it is your job to figure out where it is. So the son also believed this guy. This is an important aspect of the story. It's not just casually some person says, I don't know, look for it, I don't know what to do. He said, your father was a friend, he was a very good man, and I'm telling you, on one of those days he told me that it is there. So the first thing for this person is Shraddha. Shraddha meaning that whatever the shopkeeper told him, this friend of his father, is believable. This is a very important thing. He hasn't found it yet. But Shraddha is very important. Then comes a systematic work to find it. And so if he's intelligent, he will look for signs where dirt might have been disturbed, where there might be some kind of a shed. It may not happen right away. There may be disappointments on the way, but never to disbelieve this shopkeeper. Because the shopkeeper had no agenda. He wasn't saying, if you find it, give me 50% of it. It's not like that. It's not like that. He says, listen, I know your father was rich, and I know you are having a hard time eating. I think this is what you should do. So he had no agenda for this. So he knew that even though there were disappointments, he will find it. The appreciation of the Atma is exactly like this. You have a tremendous capability of joy which is waiting to be tapped, but we are totally unaware of it. Totally. And in fact, it's interesting, one should even say this, every attempt in my life to find joy is an insult to my Atma. Because it shows my attitude that I don't think of my own self very much. It must be outside somewhere. And your own self says, wait. It's not true. But you insist on insulting the Atma for no fault of yours, because you just don't know. And really speaking, this is exactly, you can imagine, sometimes we feel underappreciated. Sometimes you feel, I've done so much for my kids, and the kids don't understand how much I've done. And or you say, sometimes that friend, I have been helping that friend, and when a time comes for me to get the help, the friend has completely forgot me. So we feel underappreciated. Our Shastras say, do you know how underappreciated God feels, Ishvara feels by being underappreciated? It's amazing. There is so much available to yourself, but you say, where is God? Where is this? You're just doing trivial things without really understanding the enormous potential. So really speaking, all these 7 points are to appreciate what I already have. And either I don't know, or I'm too impatient, or whatever, doesn't matter. But it says, please, calm down. You're okay. And let me prove it to you. Just have some steps that you can at least just become non-inebriated. You are inebriated. You are just prattling in life as though you've had some alcohol. Like a person who's had too much alcohol loses the sense of reality. And it prattles and saying, people don't like me and this, that, or the other. And it says, no. Then you realize the person is drunk. And he doesn't have any sense of reality. And so you say, calm down. Okay? And then you have to wait for the alcohol to wear off. There was a story that Swami Chinmayanand told us. So it appears that I think I might have repeated to you also. The story was that in India, that in the holy time, around this time, in the springtime, there is a custom that people drink bhang. Bhang is the marijuana in a liquid form. And so marijuana has been there, it's not an American thing, it's there always. And when I was a student, when I was young, I never even went close to it. So somehow my upbringing was such that never had smoked a cigarette and never had a marijuana and so on. But it was popular amongst people that they would have marijuana. So the story goes that there was this guy from a village who came to some college in a city. And on this day, everybody said, hey, you've got to have this. So he said, no. He said, no, everybody has to have it. You got it. So the fellow drank a little too much and his mind went haywire. And he started babbling and so on. So his friend said, hey, calm down, it'll be okay. It'll wear off. So he says, no, I want to go home. So finally they called his parents and said, I'm sorry, sir. Your son is behaving very erratically. This is what happened. We all had bhang and we are okay, but for some reason it didn't suit him. And can you please come and get him, because we can hardly even contain him. So his father and mother came, and of course he just kept saying, I want to go home. And they finally took him home, put him on his bed, put the nice sheets and so on, took his shoes off. And he was still babbling, I want to go home. So his father said, you are home. My son, you are home. No, I want to go home. Swami Chinmanand used to say, this is exactly the meaning of Hari Om. And he says, this is exactly what our situation. Our situation is, I want to be home, I want to be happy, I'm not happy. So Vedanta said, you know what, you are already home, you're happy, just discover it. And so, but I said, no, this cannot be that easy. There must be an easier way to do this. Okay, try it. You've tried everything, try some more. What are you going to do? So this is exactly, so what I'm saying is that, really speaking, I would say that the teaching of Vedanta means, please learn to appreciate yourself. You have already what you want. You just don't know it. You're confused about it. It might take a little while for this bhang to leave you, but once you calm down, you will see you are okay the way you are. There is no one like you. This is the message of the... And so, in that sense, the steps, no, I keep saying steps, this is the wrong thing, but the aspects of who we are, how it will become manifest to you, one thing at a time is being talked about. So the second one is Atma Darshanam. Atma Darshanam means an understanding that I'm okay, I don't lack anything, I'm full. Right now I don't have that feeling, but the more you do this, you will see the Atma Darshanam. So this is number 2. Okay. Then the next, number 3, is given in the next verse, number 21. And that is called Atyantika Sukham. So we look at verse number 21. Sukham Atyantikam Yattad Buddhi Grahyam Atindriyam. So the first line of the verse number 21, Sukham Atyantikam Yat Buddhi Grahyam Atindriyam. So Atyantika Sukham means an absolute, or here you can even say a lasting. For the time being, we can bring timing. Ultimately, even time disappears. A lasting sense of joy. A lasting sense of joy, also one which is not experiential. So not experiential means not finite. And to understand this, the adjectives are put in buddhigrahyam atindriyam. Atindriyam means that if you look at our normal joy, it is Indriyajanyam. Indriyajanyam means that if you analyze the normal experience of joyfulness, then they are based on my sense organs. Like for example, eating, I just gave an example about eating, which is also an Indriyajanyam. So you have, so eating is a physiological need, the answer to a physiological need. So you have, the various parts of our body is Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. These are the 5 that we have studied before. So out of this, hunger and thirst comes in Pranamaya Kosha. Because Annamaya Kosha is the physical body, then Manomaya Kosha is the mental aspect of me. There is something in between which is called physiological body. Not physical body, not mental body, but physiological body. Physiological body means hunger, thirst, circulation, breathing, the ability that I'm alive, being able to breathe, and that my body seems to be warm and functioning, and all of those physiological aspects. So hunger and thirst also are giving a lack of hunger, a lack of thirst, a lack of problems in the physiological aspect is also a source of joy, isn't it? But those sources of joy are very finite. Hunger is a very interesting thing. How they just look at the artistry and the design of the human being, of any being, by Ishvara. Just imagine. So that means that in order to sustain life, you have to eat the remnants of life. Remnants of life means and preferably the remnants of plant life, not human. There are people that only live on human blood. There are aboriginals, they say that they don't even like they kill other people to eat them. So hopefully you and I are not one of those. Then comes the killing of animals, and many of us are among them. We feel that it's okay. Chicken doesn't have any soul, and or cows or something like this. So anyway, the sustenance of life, you cannot live by eating stones. You have to eat remnants of life, and the remnant of life specifically meant for that purpose is plant life. But look at the design of the beings. We fulfill our hunger in order to keep alive, but then you cannot eat and not maintain it for more than 3 or 4 hours. 4 hours later, again you feel hungry. This is how the design is given. So therefore, the reason I'm saying that is that the sukham that comes from eating is not atyantikam sukham. It is in fact limited sukham. But the feeling you get of being a successful meditator is you will have some lasting happiness. Now, it may be that in this period of lasting happiness, you may still feel hungry. That's not the issue. Why is it not the issue? Because you don't eat because you are unfulfilled. You eat because the body needs it. You know, this is a very common thing to say, that people overeat because they're unhappy. This is a common problem. That because you're unhappy, but you don't know how to be happy, so you at least know how to eat well, because that gives you temporary happiness, so you do that as often as you can. This is a common issue, we all know that. So this is not that kind of a thing. You will feel hungry, but you will still feel fulfilled. And you're not going to be someone who feels unloved and unfulfilled and so on. You'll have a sense of joy about yourself. This is part of the discovery of the Om. This is exactly when you say that you find that sometimes even the discovery that I have something in my property and I know where it is. I haven't found it yet, but I am looking for it. I think I'm close to it. That itself gives you a lot of joy. Very similar to that is the case when you have a problem, and physical problem, medical problem. And at first you don't know what it is, so that gives you all kinds of issues. But if you know what the problem is, the doctor says, I know this very well. This will be taken care of. 80% of your dukkha is gone. You feel, well, at least I'm well taken care of. Yeah, I can deal with it. So exactly the same way, it's not as though Jnani does not enjoy eating, but the same fulfillment is already there. This is just an extra one which doesn't really matter that much. So this is the number 3, which I want to finish all 7. I'm spending maybe too much time. And by the way, so this word buddhigrahyam atindriyam is an important one. So atindriyam means you are not just depending on your sense organs for your happiness. You are in fact based it on your understanding, your buddhi. Is that really I am what I am looking for? So it is grahya. It means that it is within the grasp of your understanding. It's not there, then you will not enjoy this. But if you have done all the work and so on and so forth, then your mind will become more educated. And that feeling of fullness, of sukham, is based on that understanding. So this is what is called buddhigrahyam. Okay. Then the verse number 21 also has the 4th one. And that is in the second line of number 21, which is Veti yatrana cha eva ayam sthitas chalati tattvataha. So, I can summarize it, which would say in Sanskrit, tattva nishtha. Tattva nishtha. Tattva nishtha means a natural, nishtha means a natural staying with the truth, with truth. Tattva means truth. Tattvanishtha. So here one good example to think of is, like for example, a child learning to ride a two-wheel bicycle. Bicycle means two wheels. So as you know, the children first of all are introduced to a tricycle. And tricycle is relatively easy. You are stable, you don't have to worry about it and so on. Then as the child grows older, she or he is introduced to a bicycle. And bicycle is not easy at first. You lose your balance. You fall left or you're right. And if you're able to go for a short distance, it is still very unreliable. You can fall anytime. You need holding hands and so on. But if you keep it for a while, you develop bicycle nishtha. Nishtha means a natural staying with the skill of riding a bicycle. And I think one of the acharyas gave this example, that if you watch some of these expert bicyclists, they won't even hold the handle. They have some kind of a box in one hand, and perhaps they need a one hand once in a while for turning, but the bicycle becomes very natural to them. And so the Tattvanishtha means, in the understanding of this, what will happen is that for a while we have a struggle between Atma and Anatma. Yeah, I get some glimpses of it, but it soon is consumed by a feeling of duality. The non-dual thing is just a weak voice, slowly getting stronger but still not there. It is easily overcome by a feeling of smallness and so on. This is what will happen. But with continued meditation, your appreciation of Atma will not be easily disturbed by Anatma. You will have a natural knack of staying with yourself, with your own truth about yourself. That is called Tattvanishtha. And that is what is indicated in the second line of the verse number 21, which says, Eva ayam sthitaha na eva chalati tattvataha. Chalati means you do not move away from the truth about yourself. So this is number 4. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is given in verse number 22. This is called Atyantika Labha. Atyantika Labha, let's see where it says that. Yeah, it doesn't say exactly like that, but the first line which says Yam labdhva cha aparam labham manyate na adhikam tataha. Having understood this, labdhva means having having gained this state of samadhi, which is the angi, which is the result of the meditation, yam labdva na aparam labham adhikam manyate tataha. Afterwards, you do not see the gain of anything else which is superior to this gain. That is not the situation when we begin. Because when we begin our study and our becoming educated and so on, you feel this is one of many things. Oh, many things. And so this becomes a kind of like a medal. You know, you are very educated in a given field. You are quite educated in treating your medical issues, and you are also educated in this Vedanta. Like people will say, well, how are you spending your time? Oh, you know, I do this, I'm very fond of doing this, and I'm very fond of this. Oh, by the way, I also attend this 1-hour class every week. What is that? This is about Vedanta, you know, this is about Bhagvadgita and so on and so forth. Oh, really? Yeah, I thought that I'll get some education from that also. This is our situation. So this is one of many different things. And if you ask someone, really speaking, honestly, which one do you like the best? Which one really gives you? He says, I don't know. I think the Vedanta thing is okay, it's not bad, but you know, I have other things to do also. I'm busy doing this, and I've accomplished a lot, and I'm doing this, that, or the other. Working out. This, all kinds of things. Vedanta is only one of many things. One of many things. It's not. Only when you become advanced, when you understand that once you value the teaching and your understanding of yourself, nothing else is as important to you. This is absolutely the key. And it will happen if you study. Because it's a natural thing. It is the most important thing. And you will, quote unquote, realize the fact that it is a very important thing. So that's the meaning of what is called Atyantika Labha. And it also, you can see the meaning from the first line of the verse number 22. Yam labdhva cha aparam labham adhikam manyate tataha. Means once you gain this, you will find that everything else fades in its attraction to you. This is the number 5, Atyantika Labha. Let me see if there's other things I want to say. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Then number 6. I want to make sure that I go to number 7, which is in some way the most important one. But anyway, I think we have enough time. So, number 6 is given also in verse number 22. And it's given in the second line. Yasmin sthitaha na dukkhena guruna api vichalyate. So I won't write out it's already the same exactly as it is in the second. So I'll just say Yasmin. Dot. in verse 22, first line. Okay. What does it mean? Means once you are centered on the appreciation of the Atma, nothing disturbs, nothing else. Vichalyate. Vichalyate means one which bumps it off, one which removes it. So, at least for the time being, disturbs it. And there is a word used here, gurunapi. Dukkhena gurunapi vichalyate. So guruna means even heavy, even tragedies. There is no tragedy in your life which will dislodge it. Yeah, that's the word that I was looking for mentally. Dislodge your centricity about the knowledge. So Maheshananji had given this example. He said, there are people that come to the classes and then learn something, but they have not yet developed an understanding of the self. So their Shraddha is still weak in that manner. So he gave this example of a person, a very successful businessman who used to come to his classes. And he was very devoted and so on and so forth in the beginning, but not a real student yet, just an introduction. So one day he was passing by, Swamiji was passing by, and he found that outside the house of this person, all of the murtis of gods from his home had been thrown away on the road, and in a very disheveled manner. So he stopped by and he said, "What's happening here?" Turns out his son died. Young son died. This is one of the worst tragedies that can happen to anyone. Really, one of the worst things that can happen is that our own children die before we do. This is a well-known thing. That is a very hard thing to do. And that's what happened to him. So he threw away, he says, forget about enough puja, I've done enough puja, enough listening to Vedanta, nothing happens in my life which is worse than this. What is the use of this? What is the use of this? So he says, forget it. I'm not doing anything. So this was the example that he gave. But he says that if you maintain your sense of understanding and you come up to a certain point, there will be a point where no matter what happens, nothing will really change your attitude and your thing. You may go through suffering, that is okay. But in sense of who you are and what your sense of where your source of joy is will not change. So this is the number 6. Then comes the important one, number 7. This is given in verse number 23. And I will just summarize it, but I will write it out. So, dukkha. Oops. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. Dukkha samyoga viyogam. And a English translation, let me see, I can borrow it from here. Yeah, so it is given in the English translation. It means disassociation from association with sorrow. So under parentheses I will say this is a highly technical truth that has to be, this is kind of like the fundamental of the Vedanta. So we need to understand what it is, and I hope we have enough time. Yeah, I think we should. So number 23 says, Tam vidyat, may you know, dukkha samyoga viyogam yoga samgidam. It's a very important and a rather tough one to really understand. We used to spend a lot of time really on, Swami Dayananji used to spend a lot of time on this verse. So the second line is, let's see, yaha nishchayena yoktavyaha yogaha nirvinna chetasa. So that means that yoga, which is defined in the first part, should be pursued with clarity of purpose, with a mind that is not discouraged. All of that is just a quality, but the first line is the one. So what does it really mean? Dukkha samyoga viyogam yogam. So here, the Gita has turned the word yogam upside down. And the reason is why and how. So the word yoga comes from the dhatu yuj. Normally, I'm just telling you normally, the word yoga, which comes from the dhatu yuj, yuj means to connect. Isn't it? So yoga means connection, means you're together with something. This is what yoga means. Here, however, in this, it is pointed out that the disassociation is the connection. What? How can you say disconnecting is the connecting? Oh, this is strange. This is important to understand. In fact, these kinds of paradoxical statements abound in Vedanta. And an understanding of the paradox as to how it means in our life is very important. I'll give you a couple of examples. This is just all over the place. In the Kathopanishad it says, it is bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Paradox. In the Bhagvadgita also later on it says, Matsthani sarva bhutani, nacha matsthani bhutani. Everything is in me and nothing is in me. Paradox. Hey, we won't have time to comment on those. Maybe I'll do that some other time. But let's go back to this paradoxical statement, which says that the ultimate connection is disconnection. What? How can you say that? Ultimate connection is the disconnection. So this belies the truth of how the whole life is, really speaking. What does it mean? I can just give you we'll probably might revisit again in the next class to complete it, but I'll give you an introduction, just a quick introduction to it. What it means is that the Atma by itself, when you say Atma, it is not some third party called Atma somewhere, but me. Atma means I. The Atma, by its very nature, is not endowed with any problems. It is totally free of problems. Nothing to do with problems. And yet, due to whatever reason, I have come to the very firm conclusion that I have problems. This is the situation we face. This being the case, the true meaning of yoga means the true meaning of my uniting with myself. Strange. How can I be united with myself? I can be united with something other than me. But how can I be united to myself? But here's the situation. I do not grasp the fact that I am free of problems. And the way to achieve this union with myself is to understand that dukkham standing for sorrow, from problems. And the biggest problem is a sense of limitation. This dukkham is not really associated with I. So to understand the disassociation from the association of sorrow is the ultimate association with myself. So this is, I'm just stating it for now. It's not as though it's very clear. We'll have to clarify it more. We'll work on it in the next class. But this is So in some ways, if you look at this list of 7 things that we did before, starting with Chitta Uparamanam, Atmadarshanam, Atyantika Sukham, Tattvanishtha, Atyantika Labha, culminates in the ultimate technical truth. And an ultimate technical truth means that fundamentally your attempt should not be to reduce your problems, but to understand that the problems are mithya. They are not as real as you are. In effect, it is like waking up from the dream altogether. In a dream, if you have problems, which we do, and you attempt to remove the problems, you can only go so far. Even in our Jagrat Avastha, for us to improve our lives and do things and so on, are relative measures to improve. But nothing as effective as understanding that I am something other than what I take myself to be. Totally different. Then you negate the very essence of dukkham all of a sudden in one step. So I think what we will do is probably either just do meditation on this, maybe next week, or perhaps talk a little bit more and then do meditation. Just focus on this point itself. And this becomes the last of the 7th point of the, again, what is it? It is the sketching of the Angi, the one whose Angas belong to this person. So in other words, this is the result of meditation. That's fine. So I'll stop there. So we'll entertain some questions. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Yes, sir.
You made 2 statements, bigger than the biggest and but smaller than the smallest, and next one you quoted something.
So then that was the Gita statement.